Hello, welcome. Right now I'm going to pour myself a glass of barley tea before I start studying today. The weather has gotten a lot warmer this past week, so barley tea is really nice to have in hot weather. It's very refreshing. I am going to be studying Japanese today. I live in Japan, so I want to become fluent in the language. But it is pretty difficult for me to learn Japanese. Learning a new language is always a challenge. And English and Japanese are two very different languages. Today, I'm going to be using my iPad to study Japanese. I am setting a timer for 20 minutes, and then I will give myself a break of 10 minutes, and then again I will study for 20 minutes, and then have a 10-minute break. This is kind of similar to something called the Pomodoro technique, but this kind of studying with a timer is most effective for me because it allows me to really focus while I am studying and then have some time to kind of relax and re-energize myself before I start studying again. But this method might not work for you. Everyone has their own preferences for how they study. Some people like to listen to music. Some people study really well out at a cafe. So I'm curious what method works best for you. You can kind of tell me what you like to do in the comments. When it comes to learning a language, I think there are some unique challenges for studying. One of the biggest challenges is access to the language and to practice. I know in Japan, many people want to practice speaking English, but there are not many native speakers that they can practice with. So they don't have access to speaking practice. I think this is where things like YouTube and even different apps can be really wonderful. In the past, there was no option but to practice in real life. But now we can go online and have video calls or use YouTube and practice listening. So even though too much YouTube or too much time playing on your phone is probably not good, I think that technology is really kind of a wonderful thing for people who are trying to learn a new language. For example, this app that I'm using right now for kanji has been really helpful for me, especially the writing part of the practice. I often draw kanji in the wrong order. There's very strict rules about the order of the strokes in kanji, and I used to get it wrong a lot. And using this app has helped me fix those mistakes and slowly get better at kanji. I still have a long way to go when it comes to learning kanji. I probably know a little over 100 individual kanji, but there are thousands and thousands of kanji that I still need to learn. So it will take me probably the rest of my life, but that's okay. That brings me to the other big problem with studying and specifically learning a language. I already said that access was a large problem, but possibly an even bigger problem is motivation. When you first start studying, especially when you first start studying a language, it's kind of new and exciting. You get to learn lots of interesting new things, and so you enjoy studying. But after a while, it's no longer as exciting, and you don't feel like you're making progress. This is called a plateau. So, a learning plateau is when you feel like you are not actually learning anything and you're not getting any better. Learning plateaus are really frustrating because you can study for hours and hours and feel like you are not making any progress. For my own study journey, I've done some things to try and help myself. One is to make goals. Smaller, specific goals can help you feel like you are making progress and track that progress. So I take the JLPT, the Japanese Language Proficiency Test. I take this test almost every year, and that way I can see if I actually have gotten better at Japanese or not. Because sometimes you are improving and you just don't notice it yourself because you can kind of judge yourself harshly, or be very critical of yourself. Another thing is to give yourself small rewards. So for me, when I hit 300 kanji, when I know 300 kanji well, I am going to buy myself a book series. I really like reading, but books are a little expensive, and I don't have much space to store them, so I try not to buy them very often. But as a way to motivate myself to consistently study, I've decided that when I know 300 kanji, I can buy myself a whole book series. So, have you had trouble with motivation when you're studying? And have you thought of any ways to motivate yourself? If you have, I'd be happy to learn about what methods you use. They might help me as well, since I'm also learning a new language. At this point, I have finished my review of kanji, and now I am just adding in some new kanji. I try to add in new kanji and new words at least once a week to make sure that I keep making progress. I have found that once a week is the right balance for me. It's often enough that I'm still challenged by my studies, but it's not too often, so I don't end up feeling overwhelmed or just confused. If you are struggling with studying, I would encourage you to try new things and see what works best for you. Most people have things that they are good at and things they are bad at, their strengths and weaknesses, and you need to adjust your studying to suit that. I'm pretty good at vocabulary, so I don't spend a lot of time focusing on vocabulary. But I mix up kanji and how to write kanji often, so I spend a lot of time practicing my kanji. If you can figure out what your weaknesses are, then just give yourself a little more time to practice that. It's not really fun. In fact, it's usually pretty frustrating, but it's how you get better, is to keep trying and to do your best. I mean, look, these are all kanji that I now know because I've taken the time. Although, as you can see, there's a lot more for me to learn. And these aren't even advanced kanji. This is just the kanji that most Japanese people know for like daily life. Now, I still have a little bit more time left on my 20-minute timer, so I'm just going to quickly go through some vocabulary. Like I said, vocabulary, or words and their meaning, it's pretty easy for me, so I don't spend nearly as much time practicing the words and their meaning as I do with kanji and how to write it. I make sure to try and be consistent with this study. I try to do this 5 to 6 times a week. It's enough that I can make progress and improve, but still give myself a day or maybe 2 of rest. So this is my study method. What do you think? Do you think it's effective? Or should I maybe change something? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you have made it all the way to the end of the video today, thank you so much. If you'd like a video on a specific topic, please leave it in the comments and I will try to make one. And please like or subscribe. That's all for today. Goodbye.